We've talked about unexpected costs with regards to time, opportunities, reputation and money before. In what ways did your drinking affect you with regards to time?
It's never apparent. It's not easy to identify. You have to you got to kind of analyse what goes on in your life. But for me, it was a case of like losing my weekends. As a youngster, I felt as if I had all the time in the world. So losing a day on a weekend because I've been hungover or sleeping it off, hangover and things like that, it was never an issue. But as the years rolled on, more and more of my time became consumed by my drinking. And therefore, I was robbed of a lot of free time. My free time was absorbed in drink, or either getting drink or the activity of drinking would remove days out of my life, and that was like every week, every month, every year.
Your R&R time.
Yeah.
Relaxation.
Yeah. Looking back on it now, I didn't perceive it then, because again it was disguised by this mask of I'm enjoying myself. That was how I enjoyed myself. That was my social time. But looking back, and again things like whenever I had an injury and I had to go see the doctor, or I'd have to go to A&E and spend hours waiting to be seen. That was unplanned time. That was, I had a forfeit because of my consumption of alcohol. The time in prison, that was my free time. I wasn't, I couldn't do anything without permission. I was constrained within confines of a cell. That devoured a few months of my life. That wouldn't have happened had it not been for alcohol.
Did you spend time in A&E?
Yeah. So
Police stations.
Police stations a few times, overnight. Sleeping off, hangover. It devoured. It robbed me of time. And again, like, life is short, and it's only as you get a little bit older you appreciate just how priceless a commodity time is that you don't really value until it's threatened or removed from you. Which, as I said, when I went to prison, the realization of just how priceless freedom is, and alcohol had robbed that from me. Well, my consumption, alcohol's safe. If you leave it in a bottle, it's not a problem. But if I put alcohol inside me, all sorts of weird and strange and horrible things occur. So, and it does for other people, I know that. But time certainly was something that I forfeited. And unfortunately, again, for a lot of people that I know, sacrificed their lives, which is, that's too much time for anyone to have to forfeit.
You spend time nursing a lot of hangovers.
Yeah.
Were they like ridiculous hangovers?
Yeah, they were.
Would you nurse a hangover with another drink?
Yeah. Sometimes in the mornings it got to the point where a hair of the dog, they call it, don't they?
Yeah, makes you better.
Yeah. That became attractive. It's because it's progressive. And the times when I would be under the weather, like I said, firing on 3 cylinders instead of 4. And the time that I could have spent enjoying my life, enjoying things that and appreciating and remembering the next day, I was consumed by the effect of alcohol. And that whilst I felt I was I was enjoying myself. It wasn't. It was robbing me of everything.
With regards to opportunities, alcohol costing you opportunities in life. Do you think you lost out on these things through drinking, for example, socially, in relationships, doing work?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my career ended when I was 43. So I lost 17 years of, well, till I'm 60. I mean, most people retire, so I was 65 in it. So I was 22 years of gainful employment I forfeited. And the opportunities that would have come my way, I've no doubts about that.
Do you feel empty for that, Al?
No, I mean, I look back on it and I accept that it was part of the illness. Again, there's different opinions out there about whether addiction and alcoholism is an illness or not. And a lot of people don't think it is, but the World Health Organization categorised it. So again, this is... It was certainly something that I had no control over. It had control of me, so it was a mental illness for sure. I don't. I mean, in all fairness, the person I am today I'm a better person today because of my experience. But I'm fortunate because a lot of people are dead, and they didn't get recovery at the time that saved their lives, and they forfeited everything. But opportunities, yeah, there's no doubt that career-wise, I mean, I was doing well in my career, and that would have opened doors. I don't want to project. I mean, it's all hypothesis really, but I have no doubt that my capabilities, my dedication, had I not been addicted to alcohol, I'm sure because people. Employers, they want you to succeed. They want to support you. They want to see you getting on. And that would have happened as it happens for other people. But I thwarted that through my drinking. I mean, as I said, I was asked to do a presentation in Cardiff University in the concourse. I did my master's dissertation on food animal prophylaxis, which is, food animals are they're given antibiotics, antimicrobials that are used in human medicine, and you hear on the news all the time about drug-resistant bacteria, and the antibiotics that they use are ineffective. Bacteria become they overcome these medicines, and it's a threat to life all the time. Well, I did this dissertation, and I was asked to do presentation boards. I mean, what an opportunity that was! But because I didn't feel confident, my again, alcohol consumption for me undermined my confidence. I was only just barely staying afloat all the time, and what a privilege that was, what a wonderful opportunity that was. But I didn't feel confident. I wasn't comfortable doing it, so I backed out. I kind of refused to do that. Whereas now, if I was asked, if somebody asked me to do something now, bang, I'm there. Because alcohol doesn't short circuit my mental processes anymore. And I can be the person today I was always meant to be, because there isn't a drug removing or interfering with the person that I was always meant to be.
Opportunities with relationships. Yet a lot of relationships end because obviously the drinking.
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah,
quite a few relationships at work. I said that people, colleagues. I mean, they must have, but they're very sympathetic normally. If you're ill, people are sympathetic. They want to help support you if you're struggling. But when it becomes repetitive, which health problems with drink are repetitive, they're cyclical. And after a while, people start getting fed up, especially when if they have to do cover for you, if you're off on the sick because you got hangovers and one thing and another, and they're having to do more work and bridge the gap that you created by your abstinence, then their patience wears short, and understandably so. So yeah, there must have been tolerance of colleagues, grew short with me being off. Relationships with partners, yeah, all down to my drinking. Family, neighbours, it undermined, my drinking undermined every aspect of my life.
Did you not have a socially? You didn't socialise then. You chose not to.
I wasn't as sociable in drink as I thought I was. Again, this was an illusion. I was far more. Endearing without alcohol. So, for me, as I said, it made me much obnoxious to the point where who would find me sociable? But I didn't see that. I couldn't see that. I thought it was the other person that was being awkward or unfriendly, because never really did I associate negative outcomes that I was experiencing. Not once were they related to my pattern of drinking. It was other factors, as I mentioned before. The correlation between my drinking and what was happening all around me, was never clear. Because I never wanted to stop drinking. That was my priority. So I protected it. I made sure that was safeguarded. My drinking was safeguarded, and any issues were social issues, work issues, were due to other factors. Not my drinking.
With reputation, how did drinking tarnish your knight in shining armour image? Do you think your behaviour in drink led to poor reputation generally, or?
Again, exhibiting different personality in drink or in hangover to what I was like sober. But, people will automatically register that. They'll say, well, he's behaving out of character, or they'll say they say, oh, what sort of mood's he in today? Because there are differences even when you're going through hangovers, or you've been in a bender, so you've been on a weekend of drinking, heavy drinking, binge drinking, whatever it was. When I come out of that, for days, as I said, my mind wouldn't be in a clear space, and my patience, my tolerance, are not good at the best of times, but they're even less when I'm recovering from the after effects of drink. And that people must have perceived that, into relationships. They must have been aware of that.
Do you think your work colleagues, you had a reputation at work for being, you could be awkward or?
I'm not aware of it.
Off?
I mean, obviously after I did a couple of tragic things, like when I thumped my boss and stuff, then clearly you can't avoid, you can't misunderstand situations like that. Then that would have its own repercussions. People were fully aware that I was capable then of doing sort of extreme type behaviour. Nobody's going to overlook that. So they certainly would have been aware of this Alan on one hand, and this drunken, this behaviour, two different people. That would have been obvious. But in terms of reputation, knight in shining armour, of course, the trouble is, as soon as you get a criminal record, opportunities and reputation kind of go like a hand in a glove, really. For me, when I had a criminal record, I became, as far as society was concerned, as far as the establishment was concerned, I was a second-class citizen. Having to, whenever you fill out an application for a job, and you have to put on there that you have a criminal conviction. I know human resource personnel. they call it the Rehabilitation of Offenders Act. They ought to change it. The Persecution of Offenders Act would be more appropriate. And I, as I said, I don't care what personnel officers say. If you've got two people at an interview for a job, and they're both identical in terms of their qualification and experience, but one of them's got a criminal record and the other one hasn't, it don't take a scientist or a brain specialist to know which one they're going to employ. And I can say, well, yeah, but you were the one that's got the criminal. Nobody gave you that criminal. You gave that to yourself. Well, fair enough. I'm not arguing. But the point is, once you've paid your penalty, to have to then, years after that, keep revealing that. And society, it's okay if you're self-employed. It don't matter. But when like for example, just to give an example, when my sort of first year into recovery, and I was starting to feel well to try and get back into work, I applied to be a driving instructor because I thought it was an admirable sort of teaching position where I could help people, and it allowed me the flexibility of hours work that I could manoeuvre that around my recovery. So if I needed to go to a meeting, I could. You know what I'm saying? I could do an hour and a half teaching or something, but if I needed to get to a meeting at any time, that I could more or less facilitate that. So I knew I was safe, and it wasn't to be, because the Department of Transport didn't consider me a fit and proper person due to my criminal convictions for assault. So reputation. And then I thought, well, I was just about a year sober, and I thought, well, I'll apply to I'll go to college and learn to be a counsellor. And I was refused applicant. But bearing in mind I had all these qualifications, they turned around and wouldn't admit me on a course because they didn't think they thought I was psychologically fragile. Now there's me trying to get back into mainstream life, and I'm hitting these brick walls, and they talk about rehabilitation of offenders. I found it extremely difficult. Society, the establishment can be very unforgiving.
Yeah.
So, no, I take that in my stride now. It was part of my journey. It helped me come to terms and realise just how damaging alcohol can be. Unfortunately, of course, addiction is the illness that it is. Although it's self-inflicted, you have to accept that the illness is not self-inflicted. So to be punished constantly for behaviour that occurs through a psychoactive drug, I think that could be looked at again. It is difficult for people to get back into life.
I suppose the final unexpected costs with regards to time, opportunities, reputation is money. How costly would you say alcohol has been for you?
I wouldn't know the exact figure, but it must have been horrendous. I never had any free. I've said I was earning good money and all the rest of it, but my money was diverted and ring fenced for one thing and one thing only, and that was my drug. I think it would be good. Like I said about the drinks diary. I said you go for counselling and they'll give you a diary and you put down how many drinks you have at the night time. As I said, everyone I know that's in recovery, like after you've had the first one or two drinks, that drinks diary goes in the bin anyway because it's meaningless. But I think a money diary is far more effective.
I suppose it's not only just on the drink; it's the fines, the things you smash and break,
and lack of earning potential. The fact that I was out of work for 20 odd years and not earning. What I could have been earning, I don't know, 25, 30,000 a year or something, whatever. It's the hidden costs that aren't immediately apparent that I've had time to think about. And again, this is where I think in terms of assessing one's level of risk, you have to bear in mind the potential for these things to affect your life, and then when you get a handle on what it is costing you, both in terms of money and lack of earnings. Again, the reputation, I wasn't promoted because of my behaviour, even though I was higher qualified than some others. Rightly so, and I'm not complaining, but the fact of the matter is, you know, through no fault of my own, being addicted to alcohol, it undermined all my earning potential. I know, I mean, I said I've been very fortunate. I've heard stories where people have been really wealthy and they've lost all their wealth. They've lost careers, they've businesses that have brought them in millions. Alcoholism will remove everything. But I'm still alive, so I got nothing to complain about. In comparison to many that I know that are no longer with us, I have nothing to complain about. Besides which, I now have a life. It's 17 years I've been sober, coming up, 2 months' time. My God, I would not exchange my sobriety for any amount of money. And I said, working in a rehab where we've had quite a few wealthy people come in, very wealthy people, I would not swap any of my sobriety for their lives. Not to be in the place where they are with their addictions. I've come out of mine, thank God.
Now, obviously, you're able to help others with the information you've written and the website.
Well, that's their choice, whether it helps them or not. I don't want it. This is not a case of forcing it down anyone's neck. Because denial, people out there that they're obviously drinking to excess all the time, and it's giving them misery, but they still think they're having a great time. They still think they're enjoying it. Unfortunately, they can't see the reality and the truth of their situation. If I can give them something else to think about, then I think I would have achieved a lot. If they get a better understanding of their circumstances and maybe make some adjustments, hopefully they won't have to endure as much misery as I said, as we've suffered.